What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the PHNX Suns podcast. I'm Lindsay. That's Gerald. That's Espo. Shout out to everyone who is already with us in the chat. Dorian, we appreciate your kind comments. Thank you for being here. Amelia, Leo, Bear the Blader. Is that what we're going with? Aaron, Ashley, Brian again. Patrick, you guys are the best. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do that as well.
I thought it was Bayer the Bladder.
Is it?
No?
Did I read it wrong?
I don't think so.
That would be funny, though.
As the resident editor, I'm going to go with Blader on this one.
Yeah, if you look at the profile picture a little closer, rollerblading.
There's always a good chance that I read everything wrong, to be honest with you. But it is what it is.
I'm a reader, right?
Yeah.
And apparently I can't even do that.
That's
So
tough.
thank you for editing my reading.
I got you.
But when you read, you don't say the words out loud all the time. So
Well,
you could have read the word but never
Yeah.
heard it. You know what I mean? Not this word specifically,
Yeah,
just
okay.
words in general.
Okay, that's
You
fair.
know
we
what
all
I'm
have
saying.
our blind spots.
Exactly. We all
I'm great
can't
with
be
them
you, Gerald.
syllables.
Right.
We all can't be you.
Okay.
Great with words.
You could try.
Great with
harder.
numbers. Some of us are just destined to be okay at things.
Good
okay?
looking, funny, talented.
Who are you
Anyway,
describing?
now that
Brad
we've hyped up
That's what-
Gerald enough here off the top
Mm.
of the show, let's go ahead and get into some Suns chat. We do have a huge announcement for you guys. The Suns added a 5th preseason game to the
Let's go.
schedule. It's happening on October 8th. That is a Tuesday.
Mhm.
And the Suns will play the Pistons at Michigan State, where Matt
Yeah.
Ishbia went and won a championship at.
And the Detroit Pistons owner went there too.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
true.
So this is just them making money for their alma mater. So, Gerald, are you ready to go to Michigan?
I mean, I'm down. Never been to Michigan before.
It's
and
fun. I like Michigan.
Ishbia seems excited. Devin Booker seems excited. He posted on his Instagram picture of it saying Breslin pull up with a smiley face. So we rarely get emojis out of Devin Booker.
That's
so
true.
He must be pumped.
I checked it though.
Hmm.
It's going to be 33 degrees in October. No,
Ooh.
I'm just kidding.
I mean,
Is it really already? I was like, dang, that seems really low for
I mean,
October.
it might be. I don't know.
But this is kind of a cool little thing, right? Matt Ishbia tweeted about it, said grateful for the opportunity to have the Phoenix Suns play the Detroit Pistons on Michigan State's campus with the positive impact Coach Izzo has made on my life and East Lansing being so close to Devin Booker's hometown.
Mhm.
It was a no-brainer to bring our team here to have this game at MSU.
Mhm.
I mean, we have talked. Basically, anytime the Suns play Detroit, in Detroit, it's a homecoming of sorts for Devin. So this
Yeah.
is just another extra game that his family gets to come out and see him play.
Yeah, no, it's fun. And the preseason games are spread out pretty well. So anyone worrying about an extra preseason game, don't, because it's just preseason
It's
anyway.
4 games in 8 nights.
Well, it's 5 now because they have 5 games. But no, this is fun. This will be cool. A cool thing for Ishbia, for the Pistons, for Book, and for us too, because we get extra preseason reps before the regular season starts.
I am
so
curious, though, if we're going to be able to see it.
I'd imagine
It wasn't
so.
in the
We
press
should.
release, but
I'd imagine. I'll
Yeah,
make
that's
some.
true.
I'll make some calls and find
Yeah.
out what preseason games are on.
Yeah.
So I can make.
the NBA
Well-
has done a better job now of making all of these viewable, at least, or accessible. So
Well, and the
if
Suns,
it does end up on TV, it'll be at what, 4 o'clock our time because it's 7 p.m. Eastern. At that point, we'll be 3
Yeah.
hours behind.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
If you're in the area and you want to go, you can get tickets for as low as $15. So
That's pretty
that's
cool.
kind of cool.
hmm
Use Game Time. Promo code PHNX. Save $20 when you buy that ticket.
Is that where you
$20
can
off
get it?
15.
They'll
Yeah.
pay you.
They'll pay you to go.
Espo will pay you.
No,
That's pretty cool.
No.
And then we also had a trade go down today.
We did.
Isn't that right, Gerald?
We did. The Valley Suns traded a 2025 first-round pick for the rights to Jaden Shackelford. He spent the last 2 seasons with the Oklahoma City Blue in the G League. He's a guard, 6'3", point guard, shooting guard, kind of hybrid. So make your jokes about the Suns and their G League team all trading first-round picks if you must. But
Espo, looking at you.
Well, but OKC acquiring first-round picks.
It's great.
They're going, Dad, you taught me how to do this.
Right.
This is your fault.
It's the low-hanging fruit, but we will take it. It's great.
I'm intrigued at how the G League side of things work. And we're actually be talking with the Valley Suns general manager this week. So I want to know the breakdown of a G League trade. Are you calling the big club and going, are we okay to trade that valuable 2025 first round G League pick? Are we okay? Do you like this guy? How does it work? Because I'm being serious, because I actually am fascinated by the whole work.
Well, yeah, from a pick perspective, it's one thing because it's a pick. But a player, right?
Yeah.
Do James Jones, Matt, Josh Bartlestein, do they have their eye on this guy? Do they like him? Does Coach Bud think he could be something down the line? And then you trade him away? I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know.
this guy, he averaged about 14 points a game in his 60 G League appearances over the last 2 years. I don't think he's made his NBA debut yet. So I can't imagine it goes super high up the food chain, but I would imagine James and Josh have some say in it and they collaborate on that. But
There's always a chance.
Is there a salary cap in the G League? What's my budget? How do I make? I need to know all these things.
Well, I'm sure there
We'll get to the
is
bottom
far
of
as
it.
those,
We'll
but
ask.
keep an eye out for that interview coming later this week. But for today, we are going to take a look at 5 Sun stats that show where the team needs to be better in 2024-25. Gerald, you wrote an article about this at gophnx.com. So if you guys are readers and you want even more in depth on all of these stats, be sure to check that out. But first and foremost, are we surprised?
No.
Take more threes.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these are going to seem obvious because we have talked about some of these things before, but I felt like it was a good time to reassess. So the first Sun stat that I have for you, despite being a top 10 team in three-point efficiency in each of the last 4 seasons, the Suns have ranked 25th, 17th, 26th, and 15th in three-point attempts per game over that span, which is just not high enough for the shooters that they've collected, for the big 3 that they have, for all 3 of them to be good at three-point shooting, for them to have a 4th guy in that starting lineup who led the league in three-point percentage, ranking 25th in three-point attempts is just not going to cut it in the modern NBA. You have to be elite in getting to the free throw line and getting to the rim as well. And as we know, the Suns were a good free throw shooting team, but getting to the rim was not another strong suit of theirs. So you have to supplement that. If you look at the 2 teams that went to the finals this year, number 1 and number 2, Dallas and Boston in three-point attempts. Like, that's not necessarily causation there, but you really help yourself out when you take a higher percentage of your shots from three-point range.
I am having PTSD to our post-game shows from last year.
Oh, no.
Because how many times did we pound the table about number of three-pointers taken and how few it was? I mean, this seems so simple in today's NBA. And when you look at what Coach Bud has done in Milwaukee in particular, the 5-out offense, they were ranked high in three-point shooting attempts per game throughout his tenure there. I think it was only once they weren't top 10, if I'm correct. And to me, that's the key here, is how does he get buy-in from these guys in terms of wanting to actually run an offense that's focused on beyond the arc. And these aren't guys who can't shoot. These are guys that shoot at such a high clip from deep that you would think they'd want to maximize that. And hopefully he can get that full buy-in, because that's going to be key, especially with the big 3, to stretch that out a little further.
Well, and to your point, Espo, like under Coach Bud, his teams have, like you said, ranked high when it comes to three-point attempts, but there's still middle to high range from three-point efficiency as well.
Mhm.
So it's not like he's asking him to just go out there and launch threes night in and night out.
Right.
And like you said, you have a group of guys, the big three plus others that you can add to this mix as well, who shoot really efficiently from deep. So why not just add a few more
Mhm.
night in and night out? Because math.
Right.
3 is more than 2.
Yeah.
I know y'all love your middies, but just swap out like 3 each a game.
Yeah.
We're not asking for the world here.
Right. You don't have to fundamentally change the way that you play. And we'll talk about this with the next stat as well. But like, this is a team that has really great shooters. If you just look at last year or through their careers, KD 41%, Book 36, Beal 43, Allen 46, Royce O'Neal 37, Tyus Jones 41, Monte Morris 39, Damian Lee in his last healthy season 44.5. Like, they have elite shooters. They've just got to find a way to get them up. And part of that goes into a little bit less ISO ball, a little bit more ball movement, and hopefully, like Bud was talking about, playing random. You know, not always having a set, not always just going out there and playing, but finding a healthy balance between the two where guys can feel free to just play basketball, but where they also have some structure and an idea of what shots they want to generate. And this is something that Bud talked about at his opening presser. He said there's going to be philosophical approaches to how we practice every day, how important shooting threes is, and the spacing and all the value and all the things that come from being a high volume 3-point team. So that is going to be the biggest thing, is getting 3 mid-range gunners to embrace the fact that, you know what, just take a couple steps back on that one. Just a couple more steps back.
So you sound like the husband at the Grand Canyon. You know?
Just a few steps back.
Just a few more.
Just a little bit further.
Look, you want these guys, I mean, shooting more threes just from a percentage standpoint. And I don't know what the mindset last year was, if it was simply because it didn't seem like there was an adult in the room controlling, the philosophy on it, or what the case is. But hopefully with the point guard, you set them up for more success, and you get better looks for the Grayson Allens of the world, the Royce O'Neals of the world as well. And you find this happy medium where you're maybe, 9 or 8, 9, in number of attempts, while still getting the other kind of shots, and you find an effective mix, because you don't, to your point, you don't abandon what you're good at, but you also have to add to, what you're able to do from beyond the arc. They got to figure it out. And if anybody can, it's Coach Bud.
And a lot of people have pointed to Tyus Jones and Monte Morris being able to help with that, having a point guard to set guys up. That should hopefully be part of it. This was not a stat that I included in my article, but if you look at their off-screen possessions per game, the year before Beal came here and they all joined in Phoenix, all 3 of these guys were top 10 in off-screen possessions per game. Beal was at 2.1. Last year, he dropped to 0.7. Book was at 2.3 per game. He dropped to 1.3. KD was at 2.6, which was 6th in the league. He dropped to 1.8, which was still top 10. But like, all 3 of these guys dropped in their off-screen possessions per game because they had to handle the ball a lot more, because they were trying to figure out chemistry with each other. Hopefully having more traditional ball handlers will empower them to like just come off a screen, get the ball, and attack. Like, do what you do best.
And it just allows them to basically play a little more freely like they have in the past, right? They don't have to put as much emphasis and have in the back of their mind that I got to get others involved. I got to be the one who's creating here and playmaking. Like, you could just do you, boo. And there's nothing wrong with that when their names are Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal.
Well, I think the motion in Bud's system that he's typically run is going to help a lot too, because last year we saw things just get so stagnant, right?
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to generate good looks from deep for your teammates when things are very stagnant in an offense. So with as much motion as Bud's offensive systems have tended to have, I think we're going to see a lot more of those screens, a lot more setup for these guys that hopefully opens it up.
And it kind of felt like that was like the worst part of the way we went out in the first round of the playoffs to the Timberwolves is you have the ball come up the court. There was one screen that was set, and then things just kind of died. And then it was like, ISO ball, bad shot.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Who are we? Can we
Yeah.
not play this way?
Right.
Please and thank you.
Well, we
variety.
heard gravity all last year. Gravity doesn't work if everybody's just standing around, right?
It's got to be rotations.
Yes, you have to be moving to make that work. So,
Wait, that's how that works?
Yeah.
That's how gravity
in
works?
science
Well,
and
sort of.
basketball.
What? I had no idea. So yeah, stat number 1, no surprise here. Take more threes. Phoenix Suns, please and thank you. And I think, again, they're in good hands with Coach Bud. I think if there's anybody who can get them to buy in and understand his philosophy around that, it's Coach Bud. Like, it truly is. We've seen the track record with him. All right, we've got stat number 2 coming up here in just a second. But remember, if you want to join us for upcoming Suns watch parties, then you know the place that we're going to be is at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. No one does it better than Gila River Resorts and Casinos, and that's why we've teamed up with them for a ton of events that we'll be hosting together this season, Suns and Cardinals as well. So if you are a fan of both teams, make sure you head to gophnx.com throughout the year. Click the events tab to get all the information there. But you don't have to wait for one of our parties at Gila River Resorts and Casinos to take in the greatness. You can go anytime. This weekend would be a great time for a little mini staycation. They've got over 4,500 slot machines and live table games. They've got an amazing sports book, and of course the food, upscale to approachable. Whatever you're looking for, our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos have you covered with an unprecedented level of entertainment and excitement you will not find anywhere else. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit play@gila.com for more details.
Look, I'm just going to get into it. The NFL starts tomorrow, right? And there's a game tomorrow, there's a game Friday, full slate on Sunday and Monday. So what you need to do is you need to sign up for the Bet365 app. It's super simple. You download the app, you use the promo code PHNX365. You're going to get 2 options. A bet and get, where if you place a bet of $5 or more, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets. It's just that easy. After you deposit $10, you bet 5 or more, you're getting $200 in bonus bets. Or the first bet safety net, where you place a wager up to $1,000. And if your qualifying bet loses, you're going to receive all of it back in bonus bets. It's just that easy. So download the Bet365 app and use that code PHNX365 when you sign up. Choose your offer and find out why. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 and over, physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342 or visit problemgambling.az.gov.
All right, stat number 2, tweak their mid-range shot profile. Now, we know that the Suns have 3 of the best mid-range shot makers, but what's that math again, Gerald?
Yeah, the math is that over the last 4 years, the Suns have ranked second, first, and 6th in mid-range shot frequency. And during that same span, they've ranked second, third, and 4th in long mid-range attempts, which are classified as 4 to 14 feet away from the basket, according to Cleaning the Glass. Now, this is important to make the distinction between tweaking their shot profile and changing it altogether, because we don't want to do that, because we do have, like, Kevin Durant is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, mid-range scorer of all time. Devin Booker is going to cement himself in that category as well. And Bradley Beal is one of the best in recent memory in being able to get to their spots in the mid-range. We don't want to take that completely away. And that's something that Budenholzer touched on in his press conference as well, saying, like, I don't want to take away from what they do, because they're good at what they do, but we do need to tweak some things. And so it's a balance of, yes, relying on that shot making, that individual creation when you need it, i.e. the playoffs, when things get tight and ISO ball becomes more prominent in the playoffs. But during the regular season, that ball needs to move. We need to take maybe a couple of those middies away and throw them into the 3-point category, and then take a couple more and throw them into drives at the rim, floaters, that type of thing. Because this is a team that doesn't get to the rim a ton, doesn't take as many threes as they should, and relies heavily on contested, tough mid-range buckets, which the Suns are, like, arguably the best shot-making team in the NBA in that respect. But just don't make it so difficult on yourselves.
Right. Like, just because you're good at it doesn't mean you have to take the hardest path possible.
Right.
Like, occasionally you can take the easy way out. There's nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
We know you guys got it covered when you have to,
Mm.
but by all means, take a day off here and there.
Show us your middies. Just a little less, guys. Just a little less.
Mm.
All right, that's all we're asking. Like, I don't think this is as hard as it may seem, because Devin Booker's a guy that's shown a propensity to want to pull from deep.
Mhm.
So if that's more the mindset, I think he'll be fine in that. I think Bradley Beal in the past has shown more of a propensity. KD, we'll see, but even if KD's the guy that sticks with more of the middies, the way he shoots, you can live with that, because that's probably his best shot, right? And to your point, it's not changing everything that they do. Just select things. If you here or there, make all the difference, and it's all about the offense setting them up for that. And I feel like, again, I know I'm going to pound this table, but I still think Mike Budenholzer was the most important offseason acquisition that they made, and that's going to make a world of difference with his offensive system, because it's going to put them in positions to succeed. It's going to put them in positions to get better looks around the basket and find better looks beyond the arc. So I think this is a natural thing that happens. I don't think this is a forced thing that you have to do to expand beyond the mid-range. I think last year it just defaulted to that, because you put the ball in these guys' hands. There's no real movement on the system. Of course, they're going to get to their spot, pull up, and try to make a shot that they're most comfortable with.
Is there concern that you added Tyus Jones, Monte Morris, who also like that mid-range game?
So with one of them, maybe. So with Tyus, I'm not as concerned, because as much as you look at like the whole mid-range, he does take a decent amount of attempts from there. A lot of them are what's called the short mid-range, that 4 to 14 feet section, which is not too far away from the rim. He has a really nice floater game. Like, honestly, it's one of the best floaters in the league, especially with how often he goes to it. And I think that the threat of that shot is going to help make the pick and roll with Nurkic. It's going to add a different dynamic than we saw last year, where a lot of it was just, mid-range pull up and that type of thing. Monte Morris, he has the same tendency of like, I'm gonna take you one-on-one if I have a mismatch, and I'm gonna pull up for a mid-range jumper. But if he's like the Monte Morris that we saw before the injury-riddled season last year, it's fine. Like, that's the thing. I want to emphasize this, because they are really efficient. As much as we complain about mid-range shots, KD and Book ranked in the 100th percentile in frequency of long mid-range shots. They ranked in the 87th and the 77th percentile in accuracy on those shots. So they're taking them more than anybody else, but they're also making them a ton. They're highly efficient. And in basketball, the goal is to get a highly efficient shot no matter where it comes from on the floor. So that's something to keep an eye on. They need to tweak it a little bit. Don't take it completely away, but just, a couple threes here, a couple rim attacks here. We're good.
I'm not as worried with the point guards, too, because a good mid-range shot also is something that can bait the defense. They can't fall off of you. They can't cheat on that. So it should open up some additional shots, especially Tyus with that push floater. When he gets in the lane, if the sides collapse, they try to come to take him. He's got two passing options, usually in those corner threes, which is an area that the Suns have not generated enough looks in, because it's one of the easiest shots in the NBA. So I'm not overly worried about the mid-range from Monte and Tyus, because I think they can use it as a weapon to get guys open in those other areas that you want.
Well, and the hope would be that this also trickles down too, right? You said you're not as worried about Tyus there. He'll play majority of the time with mostly the big three, right, in that starting unit, or two of the big three.
Right.
Hopefully this will trickle down into the bench unit as well, which at least having Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal in there will help out.
Yes.
So you don't have to worry as much about the middies with them.
Right, because they will definitely launch from three off that bench unit. I'm going to call my shot now with Tyus Jones. His career high is 28. I think he's easily getting a 30-point game, at least one this season, just because there's going to be a night or two where defenses are so concerned about not helping off of Book, KD, and Beal with that Nurk Tyus Jones pick and roll that he's just going to get hot with the floaters, the pull-ups, a couple of threes here and there, maybe a layup here and there. I feel like he's going to easily break his career high this year.
Fine, if we're just making predictions, Devin Booker's going to have 10 made threes in a game.
Okay.
Is he fine? This is the year we're doing it?
Oh, he's gonna break loose this year on big 3-point games.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
He'll live up to the he's Klay Thompson light that we heard his rookie year. He's just gonna pull like crazy. It's gonna be great.
Didn't he average like 6.1 attempts last year? Is that what it was?
Yes,
I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it was like 6.1, shot 36 something percent.
36.4, I believe, but yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
20 attempt game. Let's go.
20 attempt game.
He took 6.1. I want to see like 8.
Yeah. Well, I know. It's just 2 more.
Yeah.
It's literally not that much.
No.
Not that much at all. Okay, next up. Started with the threes. Now we're at the middies.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about attacking the rim.
Yeah. So this one, again, it's not like groundbreaking analysis to say they need to shoot more threes, less middies, and more layups. But over the last 4 years, the Suns have ranked 25th, 30th, 30th, and 30th in frequency of shots at the rim. So last year, being 25th was somehow a market improvement over being dead last for 3 years straight in how often they were getting shots at the rim.
Take that, Monty.
I mean, this one is concerning. And this is the one that I'm not sure how they fix it other than just a collective mindset to attack more often, because we know that Nurk has his struggles finishing around the rim. That's probably not going to change. It's been the case throughout his career. Tyus Jones and Monty Morris help as having ball handlers, but Tyus Jones is not like a downhill attack the rim every time down type of point guard. Bradley Beal is kind of the one that we were hoping would lead the charge on that front. And because of the way that they were shifting his role throughout the year, there were times later in the year where he's had the ball to start sets. There's a lot more downhill, a lot more drive and kick stuff going on. But they didn't really tap into his abilities as a cutter as often as they needed to. So they've got to be better about generating rim pressure. I think KD's a great finisher at the rim, but he likes the ball on the elbows, in the post, on the block. And you don't really get to the rim a ton that way. Devin Booker, he was having to initiate a lot. So hopefully this year, if you're getting him in off-screen situations, he can take it and go downhill right away. They just got to find a way to get their offense going towards the rim a little bit more often than they have.
Well, I would hope Bradley Beal would be able to participate in that as well. In the same way that you just talked about Book, Beal's right there as an additional option for that too. And didn't we get to see more of that when he was in Washington?
We did.
Am I remembering correctly? I feel like it was, I want to say if the number was 2 possessions each game more that he would drive to the basket?
It was about 5.
5?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was great in that respect in terms of constantly moving. Like whether he was on the ball or off the ball, he was always going somewhere. So that's difficult to account for as a cutter. That's difficult to account for when you're on the ball trying to stop him from driving, because he is a strong, burly little guy there. They need to see more of that. And I think part of that was just trying to figure out where everybody fit in with that big 3. Hopefully this year, now that you have a point guard to facilitate and set everybody up, they'll be able to tap into that side of things a little bit more.
I'm going to upset King Nacho, but I'm just going to say it.
Okay.
We're going to have a Beal-a-sance this year with going to the hoop. Look, you take the ball out of him having to be the primary ball handler. You get more health, which I think we're going to see, and that'll give him more confidence to go to the rim. That back injury had to have screwed with his head a little bit because that's a dangerous kind of thing to mess with. And then going in amongst the trees, as they used to say, down low and trying to dunk on guys, trying to get layups, that's all physical. Like it's such a physical thing. And with a back injury, you're going to tend to be tentative with that. I think we're going to see Bradley Beal return more to that Washington Bradley Beal and drive the hoop more. With the motion in Bud's offense, I think it's going to play to his strengths. I think we're going to see Bradley Beal be a key to unlocking that portion of this.
I really hope so. I would love to see a really solid, consistent year for Brad after last season and having to deal with the injuries, the ups and downs, and the chatter all around him. I would love nothing more than that for him. Ashley brought up a point and said, this is the one I can't see us improving on a lot.
Yeah.
But Gerald, There's a caveat to this one.
Is there?
Okay. Technically,
Mhm.
the Boston Celtics and the Dallas Mavericks, who you will remember both participated in the NBA Finals this year,
They were there.
took fewer shots at the rim than we did last year.
Mhm.
The caveat is that they shot a boatload of threes.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to drive to the rim, Suns, that's okay, as long as you
Right.
shoot more threes.
Just shoot threes. That's fine.
The option is yours. The option is yours. You can split the difference. You could do a little 80-20,
Right.
or you could do 100-0. Don't even worry about the rim if you're shooting all threes. It's up to you.
Well, I think the Nurk pick and roll with Tyus Jones is going to help us a lot too, right?
Yeah.
As you get, he's going to get easier looks. Is my assumption here. Now, does he convert them? I sure as hell hope so, because they might be wide open.
Right. Well, because I think that is the hope, because if you have the big three around that pick and roll, you can't help off of either of those guys. So you basically have to contain that two-man pick and roll yourself. And maybe you can, but Tyus Jones is a very good pick and roll player, even though he didn't run a ton of pick and roll in Washington. So the hope is that if you get Nurk free under the basket, the help defense is going to be late to rotate, because they're going to be hesitating to leave Bradley Beal or Devin Booker or Kevin Durant in the corner. Like, even when they had Grayson Allen in that spot with the starters last year, nobody thought he was going to shoot 46% until like halfway through the season, when they're like, shit, this guy is still not missing shots. So he was still the lesser of those evils. You can't leave any of those big three guys, nor would any defense do that. So the hope is that Nurk's rim shots are going to be even easier than they were last year, and hopefully he can finish more than he has to this point.
Well, we've talked about it a lot this offseason. Nurk looks great right now. So I'm going to go in with a super positive mindset.
Yeah.
That he's been putting all the work in the lab this offseason, and he's going to come correct next season. All right, the next stat. You know what's on the docket here. But first, before we get into that, I want to remind you about our friends over at Circle K, my favorite gas station and convenience store to ever visit. Not only because they've got great stuff and good vibes, but because the free membership program, Inner Circle, always hooks you up with all kinds of deals and discounts. First and foremost, when you sign up, you're going to save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. You're going to save 3 cents per gallon every single day. And you can also get that bumped up to 5 cents per gallon when you reach a certain status within the Inner Circle. Plus just the deals, right? Like I said, sometimes it's on Polar Pops and Frosters. Sometimes you get a buy 6, get 1 free type of thing, or sometimes it's just a coupon for some money off. And who doesn't love a good coupon? So join Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details.
Well, let me tell you, if there's a surefire way to wake up feeling fresh after a night of drinking, it's our new sponsor, it's ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol. Pre-alcohol is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. That's right. The scientists are in on this thing. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works, all right? I'll tell you all about it. It's when you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough day the next morning. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. I mean, it's just the way it is. So, vacations, weddings, birthdays, and reunions, there's so much going on. Get the most out of your summer plans or your fall plans by stocking up on pre-alcohol now. Go to zbiotics.com/PHNX Suns to get 15% off your first order when you use PHNX Suns at checkout. Pre-alcohol is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/PHNX Suns and use the code PHNX Suns at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, ZBiotics, for sponsoring this episode and our good times.
Next up, stat number 4. Not good times.
No.
Really bad times.
Yeah.
Cutting down on the turnovers, you guys.
So I haven't told you guys this. Everybody knows I went back and with 10 games left in the season, I watched all of the Suns turnovers to that point. rewatched them, categorized them, wrote a couple thousand words on them. I went back the other day and rewatched the turnovers from the last 10 games, categorized those as well. So I have final season numbers for you all now. So of the 1,156 player turnovers that are on the NBA website, 115 of them were what I categorize as sloppy, lazy, completely unavoidable passes. That's about 10% of all of their turnovers. 118 were bad passes that they threw right to a defender with an outstretched hand in the passing lane. That's about 10%. And 96 were the result of miscommunication errors where a guy thought his teammate was going to cut and he popped instead, or vice versa, and they basically threw the ball out of bounds or to the other team. That's about 8%. So basically nearly 30% of Phoenix's turnovers were self-inflicted wounds, shooting yourself in the foot, completely avoidable mistakes. And a lot of these, because a lot of people are going to say, well, see, this is proof they need a point guard. A lot of these were mistakes that they would make in situations where, whether you have a point guard or not, the big three are going to have the ball in those situations. Nurk is going to have the ball in those situations. It's not a point guard thing. It's a being more careful and not being careless thing. It's a taking care of the ball, and it's functioning in pick and rolls and all these types of situations and building chemistry. So the hope is that with a year of continuity, there'll be a lot less of those miscommunication mishaps. There's going to be a lot less sloppy passes, because that was just something that was so strange to see players of Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen's caliber just throw these lazy, errant passes. If they can cut down on even half of these things, they're a top 10 team in terms of taking care of the ball. And we all know that Monty Morris and Tyus Jones are going to really help in that respect, because they're assist to turnover gods. But like, this is something that those guys have to be better. When Kevin Durant gets blitzed, he's got to be better with reading that and getting off the ball. Same with Devin Booker, same with Bradley Beal to a same effect. So take it from the guy who went back and watched all of these turnovers again. This is something that's very avoidable, and it's something that if they just cut down on these dumb turnovers that lead to easy pick sixes, suddenly their defense looks a lot better as a result too.
Yeah, and again, I keep harping on system, but that'll play a part in less turnovers if you know where that guy's going to be, right? You can trust that because the system is understood by each player and it's believed in by these players, that they'll be where they need to be. That'll cut it down. Obviously, like you mentioned, the point guards aren't the only, not having a point guard wasn't the only reason that turnovers happen, but it will help to have two assist to turnover ratio gods
yes.
on the court as well, which will mean at certain times you won't have the ball in one of those other guys' hands that maybe made some of those mistakes. Again, this is a combination of things that will solve it for the Suns, but this is the one I probably feel most confident in that won't be the issue again this year.
Well, I would hope so, because if you look at this realistically, like you said, when you broke it into the three categories, equals about 30% of their turnovers. Miscommunication, just under 9%, right? 8.3% miscommunication. In theory, now that you've had a year under your belt, you get a little more chemistry and continuity, those two lovely words we love to throw around. You could reduce that by half.
Yeah.
And then the sloppy, lazy passes, 10%. You could also reduce that by half simply by not being sloppy and lazy.
Right.
And there you go. Like, that already reduces your percentage from 30 to 20. And then you can add on another 5% somewhere else. And now we're at half.
Yeah.
Like, it should be so simple in theory, right?
On paper.
It should be so simple.
Right. On paper, it should be. I think the continuity is going to help. I think having the ball in the hands of a true point guard is going to help as well. But you also just need the big three to take better care of the ball. Because like I said, and the chat is still having a problem accepting this, they're going to be put in these situations because you want your best players to have the ball. Kevin Durant's still going to run pick and rolls. Devin Booker's still going to do that as well because they're good in those spots. But you can't have them turning the ball over when they get blitzed. And guess what? Defenses are going to blitz them in those spots. So a lot of these actions that you're having a point guard initiate to make their life easier are still some of the same actions that they were running last year. Like, they've just got to be better with the ball in their hands wherever they're getting the ball.
Well, you need fewer minutes lost to injury too, because when you have multiple different lineups that are going in and out too, and like we talked about, that continuity, it makes it tougher because you may have a guy in there that isn't usually in your rotation that doesn't do exactly what you expect, that leads to a turnover or a communication issue, because you're just not used to having those 5 guys on the floor together as well. So injury, losing minutes due to injury is going to have to be something that's cut down dramatically, I think, as well, to help this number.
And I think one of the biggest things too, when you look at like turnovers and just the way that it literally will suck the life out of you, especially those ones you were talking about, the pick six type turnovers. Those are the ones that we saw. Wasn't it Book yelling at a Nasir Little last year? Like, you're going to get stripped or you're going to lose the ball and you're just going to turn around and watch? Absolutely not. That's what will create a little bit of tension, not just amongst the guys out on the court, but you with yourself. That's where you see guys starting to hang their heads and sulk a little bit. Like, they're just incredibly deflating. And that'll change the whole momentum of something.
It will. And like I said, it'll help your defense if you avoid those types of situations, because according to Cleaning the Glass, the Suns were 11th last year in half-court defense. So borderline top 10 defense, despite, some of the flaws that we pointed out all season. The problem is, on a per 100 possessions basis, the Suns were giving up the 4th most transition points that came off of steals directly. So basically every time that they turned it over, they were giving up the 4th most points, easy buckets going the other way, those pick sixes type things. If you eliminate that, or at least cut back on that and be respectable in that type of category, your defense is suddenly top 10.
Can I go off book a little bit right here? We're talking how limiting the turnovers could help the defense. And I've talked a lot about the offensive system, but are we concerned at all that since you lost your defensive head coach, that you may take a step back just simply because it's not as big of a focus? So how important could cutting down on those turnovers be to keeping this team still, respectable from a defensive perspective?
It's a good question.
I don't know that any of us have an answer. It's just one of these things that I don't think I had looked at the other side of the coin on it.
But I feel like if I was playing devil's advocate here, if Frank Vogel if he didn't have the locker room, he didn't have him in any area.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think you could make that argument
That's
too.
fair.
And it's just to play devil's advocate because we don't know entirely. Like, we can read the tea leaves, we can observe from what we're able to see, but I don't know. I would just say if we're going to have the conversation about him not having the locker room or these players' ears, one way or the other, no matter what we're talking about, it's probably in one and out the other.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. It's also one of those things where you can only hammer a point so many times. Like, please stop throwing terrible, lazy passes before they take it upon themselves to do that. Maybe the coaching change and a different style of leadership will be able to hold that sort of thing accountable better.
I like to imagine every huddle was, don't turn the ball
please
over,
stop
guys.
Doing that.
Don't do that.
Why
That
did
was
you
dumb.
throw that?
Why?
Please, please.
Just stop.
I beg of you.
But to answer
No
Mike
more.
from Mesa in the chat, he asked, in your film watching, how many times did KD dribble the ball off his leg or foot? 30 were what I categorize as KD inexplicably kind of losing the ball or his balance, which was about 2.6% of their turnovers. 46 times KD was stripped by his defender, which was about 4%. So I guess around 75, 76 of those. To answer your question.
Interesting.
Which, by the way, I don't know if you updated your previous turnover article, but there was only 10 games left in the season when you put it out, right?
Right.
So you can still get a majority of these stats over at gophnx.com. I don't recall what the title of the article was, but I'm sure if you just said all turnovers from the Suns, you'll find it.
Some of the turnover stuff was updated in today's article because I did go back through and update those numbers, and then some will be updated for tomorrow's article.
Well, there you go.
As a
Even
teaser.
more.
The original
Numbers.
article was called "Too Many Damn Turnovers."
Is that what it was called?
No.
I love it. Oh, you should have.
I thought it was just.
All right, next up, our 5th stat. Feasting in transition. Gerald, we running this year?
Maybe.
No.
I don't know. So it's just a little bit more maybe would help, because the Suns were first in the NBA in points per possession in transition, about 1.22 per play on the fast break. Unfortunately, they were only 22nd in their frequency of fast break possessions. I don't know that the Suns are going to get out and run and gun with this roster. They do have not an older big three, but KD's up there, Beal's getting there, Book is still good to go. But I feel like just finding ways to get stops and making it a point of emphasis to get out and run, because we heard Vogel and the Suns come into the season talking about, yeah, we're going to play fast. We want to create mismatches by pushing the tempo. Since we don't have a point guard, whoever gets it, let's just run and get down the court. And it just never really happened. And then like a couple months later, we followed up about it. And he was like, yeah, well, we don't want to like force the issue. And it was like a total backtrack. So I am kind of interested to see, okay, does Budenholzer want to play at a faster pace like most of his teams have played in, or are we just kind of resigning ourselves to being a super elite half-court offense?
I just don't see this team running. I like it to
just be league average in
yeah, I mean, I guess that's fair. Get a few more of those where you throw the outlet pass to the wide open guy and run it and lay it up. This is the one where I go, they're not gonna totally change their stripes here, right?
Right.
To your point, get closer to 15th, and you don't have to be 5th in the league, just to be like 15th in the league.
Yeah,
and that's probably enough to make the difference in some of those losses you had last year. And the whole thing with all these 5 stats is, you had 49 wins last year.
Mm-hmm.
You correct a handful of these things, you get an extra 5. You're 54. You're in the top few in the West there. So it's on the margins. You got to fix some of these things. It's not wholesale changes like we talked.
Yeah.
So if they run a little bit more, that could have a massive impact on that bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like the beauty of this, right? It's not that we have to burn it all down, even though at times last year we were ready to do it. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But when you really look at these stats, it doesn't feel like these are outside of the realm of possibility to clean up and to fix.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a small step forward, but it will make a huge difference.
Right.
Like you're not asking them to completely 180 out of what they've been doing for the last 10 years.
Right.
Maybe a little bit with the middies, but we're only asking for a small amount.
Yeah. And sort of related to this on the fast break front, like I counted 29 of their turnovers where it was a horrible, lazy, sloppy outlet pass after rebound that was easily picked off. Another 51 times, it was kind of a 50-50 ball where if they secured the rebound, they could have got out and run maybe. But in those 51 times, they got the rebound, a guy came from behind, poked it away or something like that. They lost the ball. So it's just little on the margins type things that you improve by 5 to 10% in some of these areas. And you're suddenly from a bottom 10 team to at least league average, maybe even top 10.
This is why I don't feel nuts when I keep saying 55 to 60 wins is what this team's going to do.
It could be.
Because if you can correct these minor things in part, you've got Mike Budenholzer, who's proven he's an in-season winner, regular season winner.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why the rest of the country and some Suns fans are looking at this and just not expecting anything.
Yeah.
This team's good enough to do these things, and those frustrating, sloppy little things that cost them last year, there's nothing that is preventing you from fixing those. This isn't a glaring issue. It's little things that you just need to do a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And when you add in the changes they made this offseason, the depth they added to this team, I feel like that makes a huge difference too, because when somebody had an off night last year or just didn't have anything going, there wasn't as many options to turn to kind of correct the ship, right?
Yeah.
This year, you have different options. You have more guys you can turn to if so-and-so is not having a great night.
Yeah, and I think just having the point guard to initiate a fast break could help too. Because like I said, last year the emphasis was find someone who's open, kick it to them, and that person will initiate the break. This year, if you have Tyus coming to Nurk and like getting in it, like give me the ball and then going, that could cut down on a lot of the sloppy outlet passes that Nurk threw.
Well, and it cuts down on the decision time too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Nurk knows I'm throwing it to Monte or Tyus in most situations, right? You get them to him and you go. And that does change everything because it's not Nurk going, who am I? Where's the, it's, I know the guy I'm going to.
Mm-hmm.
And that split second can make the difference between the defense getting set up and slowing you down or you being able to find those seams to run a little bit more.
And, I just kind of like, this just popped in my brain too. Not that a quote unquote point guard is the end all be all to solving all of our problems, but We did talk about vocal leadership a lot last year.
We did.
And if there is one thing that point guards are typically elite at, it is that. And in having the conversations this summer with Monte Morris and Tyus Jones when they were introduced to the media for the first time, those two guys are incredibly well-spoken. They talk a lot, which is indicative, in my opinion, as somebody in the media, of a pretty good vocal leader on a team in a point guard role.
Yeah.
So you're going to get that on top of everything too.
No, absolutely.
So, communication. It's key.
It is key. And someone did ask about the Nurk turnovers. He had 175 turnovers total. I didn't categorize all of them, but the Suns did have 68 illegal screens, which was about 6% of their turnovers. They had 28 times where Nurk kind of got stripped or stumbled in the paint because he was trying to create contact. And then I had 19 instances where Nurk kind of made a very ambitious backdoor pass that either got picked off or went too far. So those are the numbers for Nurk.
Blessings to you for having to go back. Well, you didn't even have to, for choosing to go back and do that.
It was a
Gerald.
choice.
Is communication the sixth stat that we need to talk about?
Maybe.
Poor talking. Here they didn't talk at all.
Yeah.
I
Communication and body language.
Yes,
Should we do
body
that
language.
next?
Yeah, yep.
I don't know. We'll see. We might have to do a deep dive.
Oh boy.
Pull some highlights around those ones. We'll find out. Listen, we do have one more segment for you guys to stick with us, but I do want to remind you that our friends at Empire Today make it so simple for you to find the flooring that you want for your house. You can shop at home, which is super convenient. I hate having to go to the store for things that you don't even really want to participate in the first place. So shopping at home makes it super convenient. And of course, they have the right products for your needs. They're quick and professional when it comes to installation, and they have a price match guarantee, which I absolutely love. In addition to like the convenience and being able to shop at home, my favorite thing is the floor visualizer. So you can get an idea of what the floor is actually going to look like in your space. And you can try that out at empiretoday.com/PHNX. But with Empire Today, basically just keep shopping for floors simple because they have a curated product and they know what's going to be the best quality, what's going to look the best. They're there to help you out. Their team will come through thousands of product samples every single year to find the perfect styles, and they want to hook you guys up right now. So you schedule a free in-home estimate today and you can receive a $350 off discount when you use the promo code PHNX. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/PHNX for all of the details.
Me love Sanderson Ford, proud sponsor of Arizona Diamondbacks and have best cars in the valley. They are our official vehicle sponsor here at PHNX, and their 65-acre facility is the largest and most beautiful I have ever seen. Sanderson Ford Country is where I get all my cars, and they give back to the community, which is great as well. I highly recommend you go check them out right now and shop the Sanderson Ford playoff payoff sale with no hassle, no pressure, no nonsense other than this voice that I am doing. They are giving you big payoffs like 0% financing with just added rebates. It is fantastic. Me love them. Finance offers for 36 months OAC through Ford Motor Credit, up to $3,400 rebate on F-150 XLT. Get in there and get it. Get 0% for 36 months OAC from Ford Credit. See dealer for details.
Check out the Broncos too.
And the Mustangs.
I think the Broncos are way better than the Mustangs.
You suck.
No, you suck. I mean, listen,
They're both
personal
fine
preference,
vehicles.
whatever
There you
one you
go.
like, whatever one you want, you're good. All right. Did we almost lose Devin Booker yesterday? Either to the football field or thanks to Haven? It kind of felt like it. So he posted this video of him playing football, right? Happy for you. Love you being outside, doing your thing. But Haven low-key almost took him out.
He was fine.
I mean, Haven did almost take him out, but I gotta say, Devin Booker throwing this 50-yard bomb looked better than 2/3 of the Arizona Cardinals quarterbacks I have watched since 1988.
That was a dot, man.
I honestly, I'm not BSing here, right?
No.
He I got like half Nookie Monster voice going on here. Still.
Sure.
But Devin Booker looked better than half of these quarterbacks that the Cardinals have run out there. And better than the pitchers that the Diamondbacks have run out there.
Oh, wow.
Who throw baseball 50
He's
yards.
literally better than every athlete that ever existed anyway.
But honestly, I mean, a 50-yard dot like that ain't easy.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a simple thing to do. He's out there on NAU's practice field. So I will say the altitude probably helped.
It might have.
Maybe.
We know Devin Booker loves his Flagstaff, but no, I mean, I like that. I love Haven watching his blind side as well.
And then
Got to be careful, but you know, it was fine. We're good.
I almost had to retire the Book Havens. If he had taken his owner out, I'd retire.
That would have been sad. He was just standing there, to be honest with you.
It really was.
It was Devin's fault. You should have had your head on a
Haven
swivel,
was
my
just
guy.
watching his blind side.
Haven's like, what am I doing here? I'm here for the ride.
It's like,
I
bro,
don't
what are
know.
you doing?
He's like, I didn't even chase the ball. I just stood here.
I will say, though, I do love that now. It seems like it's been, I don't know if it's been like 3 seasons in a row or 3 off seasons in a row that we kind of get scruffy in the elements, Devin Booker. Have you noticed that? I feel like it's been a positive for him. He basically goes off grid.
Mountain Man book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is probably
Lumberjack
a really
book.
good kind of like yearly tradition he's got going on.
Altitude training is good for an athlete. It may make your football throw look better, but it's good for an athlete there. What I need to know is, can Kyler Murray shoot the 3 in the mid-range as well as Devin Booker can throw a football?
Kyler's got some footage out there of him playing basketball. He's pretty good.
I mean, Kyler was a baseball player. I mean, maybe Kyler's a 4-sport athlete that we didn't know about, and Devin is at least a 2-sport athlete. Maybe we could do one of them Freaky Friday things, switch them for a game. We'll
Book
see.
with golf as well.
Yeah,
Make that
Golf's not
three
a sport,
sports.
so.
Stop it.
Ping pong or table tennis. If you
yeah,
call it
yeah.
that, it's technically an Olympic sport.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I bet he could break dance, which was technically an Olympic sport as well.
For one time.
breaking.
For one time.
By the way, Mike, yes, we do know what the definition of nookie is. It's lovemaking, my friend. So
I might have to clip.
Thank you for spelling that out.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Mike.
Oh, man.
afternoon
All
delight,
right.
if you will.
So with that, I think I'll go ahead and say goodbye to you guys.
Yes.
Just you?
Appreciate you.
I'm
You
out.
guys can hang here, but I'm gonna head out.
Yes.
It's up to you. I don't care.
And before we go, if you want more stats and info and all that stuff, go to gophnx.com, read the full article. I will have another one up tomorrow that we will discuss as well. So we're finally getting back into preseason form here.
Hold on, you undersell. If you want the best Suns writing in the Valley, and that's no shade to the other guys that write out there, you need to go to gophnx.com, because Gerald does more work than I've ever seen anybody on this beat do. He puts his head down. He watches every turnover for you people. He looks at every stat. He talks to every person that he can. Go over there and give the man a read. Become a diehard, because the work he puts in deserves your time and effort as well.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
Plus, there's even more perks beyond that when you become a diehard. Sometimes Gerald writes things specifically for diehards.
Like tomorrow.
Yeah, so you want those too. You get access to the Discord. You get a free t-shirt or hat of your choice from the locker upon signing up. And of course, you get discounts on all of our events. So again, go phnx.com for all the information. Thank you guys for joining us. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button if you're here with us on YouTube. Rate, review, subscribe wherever you get your podcast. And of course, give the show a follow on social at PHNX_Suns. You can also follow me at Lindsay Smith AZ. You can follow Gerald at Gerald Bourget, and you can follow Espo at Espo. Espo, take us home.
EJ, let Bookman out of the basement! Ahoy, hoy.
We all silly like the mayor.